Hi again, everyone. It's Blake with Northwinds Wilderness School. Welcome back to another daily adventure. It's early spring here in northern Wisconsin, and early spring in the Great Lakes regions means two things: lots and lots of mud and maple syrup. Last week I showed you our process for tapping trees. If you watched that video, I hope you got something out of it. I know I've heard some positive feedback on the content. Unfortunately, Evie isn't with me today, so you just have to look at me for a little while. But we've been cooking syrup for the last few days, and I thought I would show you our process for cooking maple syrup. Some people use really expensive evaporators, but unless you're making a ton of syrup, I don't think you need that. You know, I have a friend who cooks about 5,000 gallons of sap a year, and they have a big fancy evaporator. But I also have a friend who makes a gallon of syrup a year, and he has the same evaporator, and they're like $1,000. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, we make maybe a gallon or two of syrup a year. That's all we need. So I wanted to show you how we make our evaporator. Let's take a look. All right, this is our evaporator. Let's take a walk around it here. See it from the side. There you can see we've got some syrup cooking. It's starting to take on some nice color. Sorry, it's very sunny today and I'm having a little bit of a hard time controlling the light. But when you're dealing with nature, the only thing that's perfect is that it's nature. Here's the back of our evaporator. Oh man, that syrup is taking on some beautiful color. Here's the other side of our evaporator. Sorry about my shadow, let me move. And back to the front. I think we've got about $35 into this evaporator, and about $30 of that is the pan itself. We've got, I think it's 11 cinder blocks. We built it up 3 high on the sides and back, and then just a little fire cage in the front. We've got 3 rebars pounded into the ground to hold everything in place. And then let's see if I can get above this fire. You can see the pan lip is resting on the 2 side cinder blocks and the rear cinder block. We've never had any problems with the pan falling or coming loose, although I will say getting it off of there is a little bit dicey. We use leather gloves when we're moving the pan off of the fire. And you can see we're down below half of the volume of the pan, and this thing was completely full when we started. It's been cooking for 3-4 hours. So let's see what the next step is. So we're at the point now with our syrup where we're going to transfer it to a smaller container. You want to maximize the surface area of the cook, but you don't want to let it burn. So as the syrup cooks down, we're going to transfer it to smaller and smaller containers. So now we're going to transfer it from the 5-gallon hotel pan to a 2-gallon stock pot. And as it reduces, we'll then transfer it to an even smaller pan to finish it. It's really easy to accidentally burn your syrup, and we don't want to get to that point. So let's go ahead and transfer this. We'll filter it when we're pouring it from here to the smaller pan through a layer of cheesecloth and a sieve. You do that at the beginning, you do it when you transfer it to the smaller pan, and then you do it again when you transfer it to your last pan. The step of getting the syrup from your evaporator into the stock pot is both crucial and a little bit dangerous. This pan is very, very hot, and if we drop it, we just lost 4 hours worth of work and 2 days worth of sap. So I'm wearing big leather gloves because this thing is really hot. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it now. I would not want this to spill on me right now. That would hurt really bad. So I'm just gonna carefully pour this through the cheesecloth and the sieve. Set the pan aside. It's pretty hot, so we don't want anyone to accidentally grab it. So now that it's filtered, you can look at this cheesecloth and you can see some fine particulate in there. That is partly soot and ash from the fire, and it's partly what we call sugar sand, fine mineral particles that are in the sap that become more present and more prevalent as the water evaporates. We filter it when we're first pouring sap into the evaporator, when we pour the sap from the evaporator to the second boil, and when we pour it from the second boil to the finishing boil. That way your syrup comes out smooth and not gritty. So this is what the syrup is looking like right now. You can see it's got a nice buttery color, but it's definitely not syrup yet. We'll still reduce this by half or more. So right now we're at the place where we want to start paying really close attention to the temperature and making sure we're not burning this. It's not syrup yet. It's still just sap, but it's starting to taste amazing. It's got a beautiful caramely butter flavor, and it's starting to take on some nice amber color. And we have gone from 5 gallons of sap down to probably 2 quarts of liquid we've got left, maybe less than that. So I'm going to transfer this to a smaller pan, and we're going to filter it again to get out any type of particulate that might be in there, whether it's the sugar sand or ash or soot, or maybe a bug landed in there, who knows. So we're just going to pour this off and filter it again. So it looks like about 1.5 quarts is what we've got here. So we'll probably end up with maybe a pint and a half of syrup. You can see how much soot and particulate was in there. So what I've got here is just a regular candy thermometer, and we're just going to put it into the syrup in such a way that we can see it while it's in there. What we're looking for is 219 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm an American, so I have no idea how to translate that into Celsius. If it gets up to 220, 222, I don't worry. But you want to keep it up to over that 200 degree level so that it's boiling. But if you get much above 219, 220, you're risking burning the sugar. And right now, we're going to start watching it very closely, looking for what's called sheeting. That's where when you stick a spoon into it, instead of coming off in drips like water does, it comes off in kind of a sheet and a stream. And that's when you know you're getting very close to syrup, and you can start thinking about measuring your syrup. This is what it looks like right now. You can see it's just starting to come back up to a boil. That thermometer's in there and ready to go. We should be done in the next couple hours. All right, so we've been cooking this syrup for roughly 8 hours. We started with about 5 gallons, and we're down to what I'm going to call a little over a pint. At this point, most people use a hydrometer, which is a device for measuring specific gravity or density of a liquid. And I believe that what you want is at 60 degrees Fahrenheit, about a 66 Rix, which is a scale that hydrometers measure in. But we don't do that. The way we know when it's done is to simply take a small spoonful, and as it cools, you can see that it becomes more dense. This is perfect. So we kept the syrup right around 219 until it became a consistency that we liked. It's been filtered now 3 times, so we're gonna put it in our jars. And what we're gonna do now is put these lids on. And we're gonna kind of roll it. And then we're gonna set it upside down until it cools. Again, lid goes on. Make sure you're using a brand new lid. Tighten it down and roll it. And set it upside down. There's not enough in this one to make it worth sealing, so we're just gonna let him hang out. And that's it. That's our process from tapping the tree to the finished product of making maple syrup. I hope you've enjoyed this journey. I hope you've learned something from it. If you're a maple syrup maker and you want to add any input, please leave us a comment. If you learned anything from this video or you found any value in it, please find a friend to share it with. As always, thank you to all of our subscribers and everyone who's taken the time to watch this video. My name is Blake. Have a good day.